All right. My first reaction video, we're me reacting to the Bill Simmons podcast. Bill Simmons and Ryan Russillo make their All NBA picks. So let's get it started.
All right, first team all NBA.
You want to go first?
Yeah, I have. I tried to figure out how to put Luca at forward because it
Why?
solved a lot of problems,
Wait,
and I did it.
Didn't we just last week talk about how hey, this is the
Think
way
I
we've
know
been
what
doing
problem.
it?
Oh, it does
says
solve a lot
do
of
it by
problems.
position. You can't make it up. And the first thing you say,
Well,
is,
here's the thing.
I try to get Luca at forward.
I voted for him at forward in 2021 and 2020.
Okay. So the big topic of this year, obviously, is uh, Jokic and Embiid are eligible to be voted as uh, both forward and center each. Um, so that's the big thing people are talking about because obviously both of those players deserve to be on the first team All NBA. They're the top three, two of the top three players in the NBA this year, in the MVP voting. Definitely should be in the top five, right? But neither of them are forwards, right? And it's this whole thing of positional fraud that everyone I've listened to that's been talking about the All NBA has typically went and split them up into first team and second team, whether they think Embiid is the first team or Jokic is the first team. Um, Pretty much across the board, that's what I've seen. Um, People are sort of rejecting this, like, okay, we know we could vote them in as forward and get both of them in, but we're not going to do it, right? Uh, so it's funny, like Ryan kind of called him out. Like we talked about all this, the big topic for this year was those two centers, and how we split them up, and then Bill comes out, is like, I want to put Luka as a forward. I was like, he hasn't been a forward. He's not forward for All Star game. He hasn't ever played forward. He doesn't really play it now, regardless whether they have both Dinwiddie and Brunson over there. I don't think their minutes
So 2
laid
years
together
ago, I
where
had
they're
him
all
at
three
forward,
together on the court.
and I was like, why wouldn't I do that again? And I looked at all the lineups they
But why
played.
did you put him as forward?
I thought he played with Brunson and Dinwiddie more. He really
It does
didn't.
solve problems, and
No,
we'll see
yeah.
why.
When you sent me that text today, I didn't
Yeah,
want to. I
I
didn't want to
checked it all
jump
out.
on you. Yeah, they split him up a decent amount.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Luka was just a guard. It's
Because that team, right now, the Mavs, especially in the 2022 portion of the season, once they turned their season around, got a lot better. And, even after they traded Porzingis, they didn't move Luca up, right? Even after they traded Porzingis and got Dinwiddie back, they didn't really move Luca up to the three or anything like that. Uh, they're a very defensive team. That's part of major reasons why um, they were so good and got themselves up to the fourth seed now, is because of their defense under Jason Kidd. So I think they've always been playing some sort of like Reggie Bullock, after Tim Hardaway got injured, obviously. Um, Reggie Bullock, Dorian Finney-Smith, Dwight Powell sort of lineup, with Maxi Kleber in there, obviously. I don't think they're playing much of Dinwiddie, Brunson, and Luca sort of lineups. Um, Luca's definitely a guard this year. But I do appreciate it, Bill.
a stretch to put him at forward, and
It's a huge stretch.
I didn't feel good about it, so I didn't do it.
Okay.
So Jokic, Giannis, Tatum, Luka, Booker,
Jokic, Giannis, Tatum,
which I think
Luka,
most people.
Booker.
I think that's going to be the five, unless you cheat and put
Most
Embiid and
people.
Jokic together. I went back. I looked at the last 6 times I voted for All NBA dating back to 2016. In 21, I had Jokic 1 and Embiid 2. In 20, I had Davis 1 and Jokic 2. In 19, I had Embiid 1 and Jokic 2. In 18, I had Davis 1 and Embiid
So
2.
he's putting Davis
I
as a
think you should
center,
pick one
keeping him
center.
at center,
I've done it the whole time I've had a vote, and I don't see why we would change that this year. And I
despite
think,
the fact that
as
you
we
could
discussed in
easily
part
put him as
one,
power forward, right?
Jokic a hair over Embiid. I feel bad. Embiid had an awesome season, but this is the shit that happens when you do all NBA.
Yes.
So that's my 5. Who do you have?
Yeah,
I have the exact
that's the
same
way
thing.
it is.
Yeah.
Exact same thing. So that's what I'm seeing a lot. Luka's obvious. Giannis is obvious. Either one of the centers, take your pick, is obvious. Where it comes, some of the difference that we're seeing is that second guard and that second forward. I'm seeing a lot of Tatum and I'm seeing a lot of Booker. Booker's really been rising a lot. I just double checked his stats now before recording this. He's been incredible. I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that Chris Paul went out, and not only did Devin Booker really, you know, improve, at least his statistics, upon being asked to, but also the Suns basically didn't skip a beat. The Suns kept up their high level play the entire season after other teams like the Warriors fell off. Um, yeah, I mean, absolutely incredible play by the Suns. I was still surprised to see how much support Booker is getting up there. I'm fine with it. Personally, I had Steph there. I still kept Steph there. I may be a little, too old on it, especially with Steph missing games, but Steph's only going to miss 3 more games than Devin Booker this year, right? Despite this injury. So we know with the injury, like he's had that long absence, especially it's recent, it's right now. That's what people remember. And Booker's been playing better recently, right? Like since February, since the All-Star break. So that's what people remember now. So I'm giving a little more credit to Steph, what he did earlier this year, kind of giving the veteran his due. For me, the other forward slot, for a similar reason to why I put Steph over Booker, I give it to KD over Tatum. So I don't think it's like unanimous or anything. I don't think Bill said it's unanimous, but I think he said most people, and he thinks that's what it's going to be. I think a really solid amount of people are gonna put Durant in their lineup, and Tatum's deserving. He's played a lot more games than Durant as well, so that games played argument definitely works against Durant in that favor. I'm fine with it. When I did mine a couple days ago, it was actually the day that the Lakers were eliminated. It was actually they were being eliminated right as I was putting my team together. I kind of got out of work, checked the texts, checked the scores, saw that Spurs were gonna win, Lakers were gonna lose, Lakers were gonna get eliminated. So I still was like considering LeBron up there with Durant for that second forward position. Ultimately picked Durant, picked LeBron in the second team along with Tatum. So on that same tier, but as it's sunk in some more these last couple days, just what kind of dumpster fire the Lakers have been, especially as a Lakers fan. It's really tough giving LeBron that first team, as amazing as he's played. If you want to factor in his age or whatnot, like yeah, he's missed games. He was 2 games shy of making the cut for the scoring title, but he was right there for a scoring title, right? So uh, outstanding play, did what the team needed, not quite exactly there, but you could tell he was trying to carry the team. Could have done a lot better at that. There were a lot of situations there that kind of left Lakers fans, bad taste in our mouth with the season, obviously. But even just coming from LeBron too, like it wasn't all perfect and everything. And that team was just incredibly disappointing. If they're like 9th seed or something like that, won like 6 more games, like if they didn't completely melt down after the All-Star break, after LeBron talking all that, like returning to Cleveland and all that stuff, like just kind of did him in, for that. Or else I would love to put him in there. And, giving Tatum his due, it's great. I'm all for putting Tatum and Booker in those slots. Personally, I had Steph and Durant, and I could be convinced away from that. But to me, that's how I would build a team.
I didn't screw around with it. I put it by position, and it sucks for Embiid. There you go.
That's gonna be the story of it this year.
Okay. Second team. We both have Embiid.
Yes.
We both have Durant.
Yes.
I really tried to go down the road with figuring out him for 55 games for first team All-NBA, but the bottom line is Tatum had a great resume. There's no reason to bump Tatum for first team. He was really good. If Durant had played 10 more games,
It's
he
fair.
gets the Tatum spot, but
That's
he
kind of
played
the only
55.
argument.
Bad luck. He was out for 21
Team
games. The
and
records
defense,
with
but really it's the games.
the records
argument.
for him when he played versus when he didn't play was probably the most significant of anybody we're talking about, right? He was 27 missed games. They're 35 and 19 when he played, 8 and 19 when he didn't play. It's too
KD
bad.
was
And he's had a lot of bad luck with this stuff
incredible
over the
this year.
years where I think the untimely injuries or
Bad.
20 game injuries here
Yep.
and there. Anyway,
Bad
I have
luck.
Embiid, Durant, DeRozan, Curry, Ja is where I landed, which I think is what most people are going to pick. You had that?
We did not talk about this ahead of time. I have the exact same.
No LeBron, Bill Simmons.
Look,
is
if
that
you're
what he's
going
laughing
through
at? Is that what Ryan's laughing at?
Did I want to put Chris Paul in the Ja Morant spot? I did. I just couldn't
Chris
get
Paul's second team over John
that.
Morant.
I thought the Suns
is
were
what he
that good this
considered.
season. And the thing with Chris, he was 15-4 and 11 assists a game.
I would still put Ja.
He was 49-32.
I mean, I did
84.
put
The
Ja. I
three-pointers
think
were
Ja's
lower than I
firmly
thought this year, the percentage for him.
at second team.
His usage rate was 19.7, which I thought was amazing. 17 missed games. They were 53 and 12, 11-5 without him. And his stats would be better if he carried.
So, like, I feel like we're going to see a lot of Chris Paul third team here instead of second team. And still feel like we're going to see a lot of, well, we're going to see a lot of it. I don't know if we're going to see majority of it, but we're going to see Devin Booker a lot in the first team instead of second team. So you're looking at Devin Booker first team, Chris Paul third team. That's a big separator for two guys who we've been saying, like, we've been hearing a lot, like, who is even the best player on the Suns, right? We don't really know that. Like, is it Paul or Booker? And I think this year we can safely say that Booker's taking over it, right? The answer might be different from day to day, but I think across more days you'll see that answer be Booker. But it's just interesting to see that gap where one of them is, first team, and some people are pushing him down to second team, like myself, and then Chris Paul is like third team, where some people are pushing him to second team. I don't know how many. I feel like he'll firmly be third team, because John Morant, like, I feel like if people ding Steph too much for one reason or another, either his slump, the team's success after Draymond was gone, or his injury, which, how I feel about, like, it shouldn't be dinged too much just because it's a recent injury. Chris Paul was injured too, but I could definitely see people putting Chris Paul in that second list. But in my opinion, I put Curry first. So if he's not first on anyone's ballot, I think he should absolutely still be second. Definitely out of the MVP race. But some people are putting him much lower on the MVP race than he deserves to be. Like, he's not in the conversation because he doesn't crack those three guys at all. But he should not be like 10th in the MVP race, like I've seen some places.
Cared about stats, which he doesn't. But it just wasn't quite good enough. And Ja, even though he missed 24 games, he meant so much in those games. I think he gave that team a championship aura by how good he was. And I just thought he deserved second.
And he was
Deserved it,
insane
yeah.
when he played.
And he was insane when he played.
I know they won a bunch of games without him, but then I didn't feel good about putting the other guards that are in the mix ahead of him, because I thought when Ja was in, it was that dynamic, and they won a bunch of games with him. We know they won a bunch of games without him, which is crazy. But
Yeah.
and if you're going to do KD second team,
You have to do
with
Ja if you're doing
55, then
KD.
you can do
Yeah,
Ja.
that's a combo.
so
Third team.
let's see if we have any changes. I think we will on this one.
Guards, Chris Paul and Trae Young.
Yep. Last time we did it, ran through it. I left going,
Mitchell
okay,
is the
I'm not
third
leaving
guy
Trae off.
that you would
I'm
think
not
about.
100% comfortable with the financial implications for it, so I think if it's close, I would
Financial
probably go in that
implications?
direction. Now, there's no way I'd put Trey any higher than third team here because they were extremely disappointing
Atlanta.
despite all of his numbers.
Yeah,
And then when there was a
especially
moment
after a
where I
run
was like,
last
would I
year.
put Trey over Chris Paul if I put another guard? Because I don't love that I don't have Donovan Mitchell in the mix because the numbers are absurd again for Donovan Mitchell, and they're still a
Donovan
good
Mitchell, I
team.
really would
They're
want to
not
put him
great,
in
but
there.
Utah's been
I would
good.
kick out one of those two guys for Mitchell
I started
myself.
playing with
I
these
don't want to ding him too much for
scenarios where,
recency.
like, imagine if Chris Paul were on the Hawks. Would they be a 4 seed in the East? You know, like I know that sounds like an anti-Trey thing, but look, here's the point: is Trey and Chris Paul are both my guards on the third team.
Trey, like, yeah, the team's record is bad. Like, John Collins didn't play well. Capella took a major step back. All their shooters basically they're so inconsistent. Who was it? Bogdanovich was probably their most consistent shooter. Like, Herter wasn't really there. Hunter, like, Cam Reddish, just disappointing until they traded him. And uh, I put some of that on Trey. I was like, okay, his teammates let him down, but like, you as your offense in the box player, right? You're supposed to lift that offense up. Um, of course, the defense didn't really meet him there either, and there was a lot of times he's in the pick and roll with Gallinari, with Collins hurt and everything. But uh, we've seen time and again with these point guards that are able to lift the rest of their team up. We are holding him to that standard. We're talking about him going second team All NBA to kick out someone like John Morant or Steph Curry, right? So we do have to hold him to that standard because those guys do that. Chris Paul, who's in that tier with, does do that. Obviously, on the scoring end of the spectrum, Trey's a completely different beast. But yeah, it's like, in terms of team success, team record, like, he has to be responsible for a lot of that, and that's why I think he's at most third team. I kicked them out in favor of Mitchell. I don't want to ding Mitchell too much uh, for their struggles, his struggles, and the Jazz struggles over the past month or so to end the season. Doesn't look good, recency bias and everything. But let's not forget, like, at the All-Star break, who would have taken Devin Booker over Donovan Mitchell, right? I may be crazy here, but at the All-Star break, it seemed clearly like Mitchell was doing better than Devin Booker. Really stepped up his shooting, his passing, his inside, driving to the basket game has always been strong. He's an offensive juggernaut for that team. He was halfway decent on defense too with them. Donovan Mitchell, absolutely stellar season. I think this last month of season's just been leaving a bad taste in people's mouths, and we see the steps that Devin Booker took forward, and now he's like firmly first team for a lot of people. And actually, like, I saw someone put him first on their MVP voting. I don't know who it was. It wasn't Shaq, was it? It was one of those guys, like, on TV. I was like, you got to be kidding me. With these three guys, like, I thought it was like consensus, like, who are the three possibilities for MVP. It was like, oh, best guy on the best team. It was like, he's not that clearly the best guy on the best team. He's not like the best guy on his team like Jokic, Giannis, and Embiid are. Like, it's not even close, right? Like, but even just the fact that, like, there's that perception out there that Booker should be there, and their stats are like pretty neck and neck, like certain categories. One is better than the other, and it's like, it's the recency. Booker's stock went up, Mitchell's stock went down, and one guy's first team All NBA, and Mitchell's would be fourth team All NBA. I don't really buy that. I may even consider putting him over Chris Paul, but I feel like I don't need to because I'm putting him over Trae Young. I really think Mitchell is probably like the fifth best guard this year. If you don't put a high emphasis on how they ended the year, and they might surprise us in the playoffs, they might, like, make us regret, picking them. Like, it's very possible, especially if Hawks don't make any noise in the playoffs, which I don't think they will.
Team, and once you get through it and you go through all the guards, the only other options.
Mitchell
really,
was the only one with a case.
Yeah, and Levine, in passing, to say his name, because to say it, that we're aware, we looked at it all and all that kind of stuff. But I'll tell you,
I
this
don't
one
even know who
wasn't
else
the
that would
only
be for
thing I
me.
really struggled with was the
Probably
other forward
Levine, yeah.
spot for the third team. I
Well,
think
let's get there. Who'd
right.
you have for center? I had Towns.
Towns. I put him in over Gobert.
I agree. Gobert's
There's a
going to get
possible
Defensive
cheat
Player of
code
the
where
Year
you could
again. He's
go-
getting his
Bam.
recognition. Hold on, they're talking about cheat codes. But yeah, for Gobert Towns, like, yeah, it's close. They're obviously, it's like one like offensive juggernaut, uh, and then on the other side you have defensive juggernaut. Uh, Gobert's getting his accolades there. We already see, we already talked about, Utah's recent struggles about Mitchell. If you're gonna ding Mitchell for that, you're gonna ding Gobert for that. Um, Towns is stepping his game up. Like, he's getting recognized for that for me. So, uh, completely there with them.
Bam or Gobert at center and put Towns at forward. Because if you watch the
Towns at
T-Wolves,
forward.
even though Vanderbilt's
No,
listed as
man.
a power forward, Towns
If
is,
anything, Bam
I
at
don't even really know what
power
position
forward.
he is. He's kind of like a center forward. And if you wanted to get
But no,
creative,
why are
Well,
we
offensively,
bending?
yeah, he'll mix
Yeah,
up his
I just
position.
We're
didn't
not
do it.
bending these positions.
I didn't think
Like, we
Bam
just
played
talked about the whole like Embiid Jokic thing. We didn't put Embiid Jokic on the same team, so why would we put Towns and Gobert on the same team? No, it's like Towns. Okay, he's a stretch four, and like, uh, you might want another center there defending. You're gonna put Towns out on the four, guarding other fours. Though, it's like if you're playing something where we're looking at eras, we're looking at previous era sort of thing. Like, let's say we're playing NBA 2K, and all your buddies are drafting big teams, right? Like, no one's drafting Iverson, John Stockton, and Derrick Rose. Their point guards are, they're going in with Kawhi Leonard, Michael Jordan, and Kobe Bryant. Like, I say that because that's how my friends pick, right? And then you're getting like two bigs, you're getting like a Wilt Chamberlain, Tim Duncan, Twin Towers next to each other sort of thing. Yeah, okay, like Towns would be like only in that case, right? Where it's like you plop Towns into the 90s, he would play power forward. At this stage, like, you're forcing it because we haven't even seen that from his career. He hasn't needed to do that. And it's like if you're voting Anthony Davis as a center every year, a guy who constantly wants to play alongside true centers, just so he doesn't have to play center. Like, if you're voting him in for that, like why are we even considering
enough games,
putting
and
Towns
I
at
didn't
four?
want to reward Gobert. Siakam is in one forward spot for me. I think Siakam. I was looking at all the votes I had over the years. I had Siakam third team in 2019. I had Siakam third
Siakam's
team
his
in
first forward.
2020, and I have him third team this year. So three
He's
of the last
he's
4
my
years,
second forward.
I had him as one of the
Sixth,
six best
really.
forwards of the league. What, 5-6 months ago, we were like, would you trade?
3 out of 4 years.
Kuminga,
Third team All-NBA
the
for him.
Kuminga pick and Andrew Wiggins for Siakam? Nah, I wouldn't do that.
Yeah.
Siakam, I think
Quietly,
I feel like he could have been had
he's
in a
put
trade
together a
for
season.
about
Okay, but-
3 months there.
But remember the Siakam.
And he's started slow, but like not that slow. He only missed a couple weeks, right? We thought he was gonna miss more. Came back kind of early-ish. Played really well with Scotty Barnes in the sense that Scotty Barnes was playing really well, and he came back and slid into the 5 spot, right? I don't know how many times we've seen him do that. He's done really well, like being flexible with the team, playing high minutes. They're up to the 5th seed, which is kind of sneaky. Like, a lot of what the Raptors have done has been very sneaky this year. Very good defense. Fred VanVleet was, all-star caliber for them early season. Now, we realized that was a really hot streak that he had. He cooled off from it. Still very good, and obviously very good at defense at the point guard slot. But Siakam's their best player, as good as Fred VanVleet has been. Very good defender. I mean, this is what I always say. With your bigs, there's 3 things you want your bigs to be at. You want them to be really good at least 2 of those things. Or else they're a defensive liability. Number 1, they need to be able to protect the rim well. Number two, they need to guard the interior well against other bigs, post up threats. Um, and then number three, they need to be able to switch well. They need to be able to play some level of perimeter defense so that you don't just get exploited play in and play out in the playoffs. Um, Siakam on that perimeter defense, interior defense, is very good. Like one of the best bigs in the league. Um, when you combine those two types of defense that he plays, and then pretty decent rim protection. Now that team needs a better rim protector around it, but for what they're playing, like he's up there, and his assist numbers are up. Just with that spin move, he just like still somehow against like some of the best defenders in the league, he goes out and has massive scoring nights. He's been very huge for that team, and I think that last spot is between him and Jimmy Butler. So I feel like that's what they're gonna say. And of course, LeBron hasn't been named yet either. So I mean, I don't know what Bill's gonna do, but I think LeBron definitely takes that spot, the fifth forward spot across these three teams. But the sixth is between Siakam and Jimmy for me, and I put Siakam.
Siakam stuff got weird though. It got like weird there for a little while, and you're
that's why you could have had him.
Yeah, so he's been unbelievable for the last however many months. I mean, he took over the game the other night, and then there was a fourth quarter game though, and another game where he was going at Embiid in that Philly win. I mean, that was incredible. And then he had another game,
and they're 3-1.
It wasn't all that great, but the overall numbers. The point is, look, everybody's up and down. It doesn't matter, but
and Thibault can't play. They're playing in the playoffs against each other.
Really, really good. So
he's almost a 23-10, 5 assists.
Yeah, the assist numbers,
49% shooting. He's only missed 14 games. And that team's a 5 seed, and he's, I think, a worthy forward. So then the other forward spot, I fucking
LeBron.
hate it, but I had LeBron.
Yeah, of course you hate it.
I don't like it.
Because he's a Celtics fan.
I don't like it.
No, it's...
I know it's disappointing.
They had a terrible season.
He put up
the Lakers
huge
had
offensive numbers
embarrassing
here again.
season.
The forward crop is light to get to 6. He's in.
That's why I had him. It's like there's other years, like 2 years.
Yeah,
I
but
thought it was last year. I got my years mixed up. 2 years ago, I kept
stats, man, this year
because he was a good stats bad team guy, and
good
I'm on
stats bad team.
Years, I don't like the good stats. Bad
you have
team.
to do it sometimes.
Yeah, but sometimes here's the point though. Like just like the MVP stuff we were talking about in part 1. If you present Embiid's case in a vacuum,
at that level,
like, how does that guy lose MVP? And you're like, okay, but you're comparing to everything else. Yeah. So in your Beal argument, you may have had a better option that you felt better about.
Yes.
In this year, to get to 6 forwards, you have to do something you probably don't like based on your criteria of good stats, bad team guy. But LeBron's still deserving of one of these 6 spots. And by the way, the Pascal Jimmy Butler thing was really tough for me. It was really tough. Butler though has better efficiency stuff. Yeah, I have him over Pascal. I have him over Siakam.
Okay, so
they were
put
38-19 with Butler, 15-9 without him.
I thought about it.
23% from 3-point line this year. He had the weird incident with 3 weeks left, and he missed a ton of games.
I don't count that.
All right, but the on-off thing favors Butler over Siakam. The defensive plus-minus stuff favors Butler pretty significantly. The PER stuff is like almost 4 points. Well, no, 3 better. There's some stuff with Butler on the analytics side where you're like, wait, I don't know how much of an argument this really is. So I think this stuff
Butler had some
Spo,
bonkers
whatever. I mean,
games.
It looked bad. It looked like Jimmy Butler. It's not new, and if it were new, I don't know how much I would have that. Like that really got in your. I mean, if you want to just tell me you like Siakam better as a player, okay, fine. You might be right. I might be wrong. The Spo thing didn't factor in.
Yeah, don't count.
I like Siakam more as a player.
Okay.
I think the second.
You had other players do other things too this year, and we're like completely ignoring them. I think it's fine. I feel like it's blown over. We'll see in the playoffs. If they have any dysfunction or anything that kind of rolls over from that. But really, Butler had some bonkers numbers, but like he was not very available. They're the number 1 seed. But also because of Bam, who also missed a lot of time. They have Lowry there, who also missed a lot of time. They have a very solid team that doesn't necessarily like need Jimmy Butler in order to do well in the regular season. Obviously, what he does is incredible for their team with, being a forward that distributes the ball, not necessarily a point forward, but like that shot creator. That's also very good at getting the assists. He gets to the line. His game is like sneaky good. Has been sneaky good for a very long time. A lot of his value obviously comes with his defense and the effort he puts in. I mean, we saw that in the finals with the Lakers, or just that run as a whole. But he missed a lot of games. There was some games where it was kind of very like out of it. Um, as good as Siakam's been, I'll slide Siakam in there. I don't have a problem with putting Butler there, and it's one of those things where like I consider putting LeBron first team. I no longer even consider that, but I have LeBron in my second team. I put DeRozan in my third team. Um, that's another thing I didn't mention. So like, they both had DeRozan over LeBron. I still put LeBron with he contributed more on defense. LeBron was not great on defense this year. He did play center for the team for long stretches and everything. Like he did so much for that team to try to get them up. Like he didn't get really like there was a lot of things that he didn't do that he could have done better that were still like me speaking as a Lakers fan, still very like disappointed in that I wish I would have seen. But he still did so much. Like I can't complain too much. Like it's my complaints are more on the GM side of like LeBron, and off court and like leadership type of stuff. Anything like on the court, his actual like level of basketball play, I'll put him in firmly second, and I considered him first, even over like Tatum, and definitely like putting him on the tier of Durant because of what we know from LeBron, right? Like you kind of have to like unseat him. And similarly with Durant over Tatum, similarly with Curry over Booker. So I've definitely done that. I decided not to do that for the Siakam Butler thing. Even though Siakam's like no stranger to all NBA teams. So that's me. But, good points either way. Like it could definitely go either way.
Second half of the season, I thought he was excellent.
He was.
And I'm looking up his splits. What were his splits after the All-Star break?
Who's this, Siakam?
He was almost 25 points a game. I mean, he was really good the whole year. For
the assist numbers too.
November, he was 18 and 7. And then from that point on, he basically took off. And eye test wise, I think that team needed him to really step up, especially in close games against good teams. That team did really well against other good teams this year. And he was the guy they went to most of the time. It was him or Van Vliet, but really Siakam if they had the matchups. Whereas Butler,
they could upset a team in the playoffs or two.
Honestly, it seems like Harrow's their most important guy at the end of a lot of these games. But they kind of ride or die with him. And they're running him around screens, and he's the guy who's creating. And I don't know. I just thought Siakam was better. But I do
all
agree
NBA teams for the number one seed in the East.
I wanted to put Butler in the LeBron spot. I couldn't get there. The Lakers finished 32 and 50.
And we got to 2
They were 25
for
and 31
the Suns.
when he played.
Much better record,
games.
obviously.
He's plus 3.4
better individual
on
players.
off. There's historical stuff where it's like the players. Here's the complete list of players who missed at least 23 games on a losing team and made All-NBA since the merger. Pete Maravich, 1978. He made first team for some reason. He missed 32 games. Still don't understand it.
Bernard King, flashy player.
Made
Everyone
first
liked
team,
to see him play.
33 a game was an absolute tornado. And then Kevin Love, second
at least the highlights.
2012. He missed 23
It was like white
games.
chocolate. Like, imagine white chocolate when you have like less TV coverage and everything. Like white chocolate these days in the NBA would have an even tougher time of making it, I think. Well, I don't know. It's like, that like flashy passer and everything. Like you don't get to see like the whole like impact of his game. Maybe he would do even better in this NBA with the highlights and everything. I feel like Ja Morant. It's kind of unfair to make that comparison because Ja Morant is a way better player than those. But if you look at Ja Morant in terms of how people think of him defensively, because they see like that two-handed block against the Lakers. They see some of these incredible plays that he makes because of his athleticism, and they think that he's a good defender. But, you know, he's letting the guy drive by him like every other play. And it's like, yeah, okay, he gets that one block, and those highlights make it. That's kind of what it was with like Pete Maravich, right? With the flashy passes and everything.
And he made it. The list of players that have missed at least 23 games have made first, second, third team. It's less than 15. So Curry did it recently in 2018. Ben Warbeck
It's
did some good
COVID year.
stuff on Yahoo about this. He said basically players who played 50-plus games for a legitimately bad team, like 40%.
Other players had
record or worse
COVID. Other players had
winning,
injuries
had a
that
vintage
they're not
season.
in that
It's really
list.
only Elgin Baylor, 1960.
AD,
Will
Paul
Chamberlain,
George,
63. Kevin Garnett,
Kawhi
and
obviously
Dwayne
didn't
Wade,
play the
both
whole game, the whole year.
2007. So I think it has to be a famous player having a really good season, and he qualifies. And it's like,
Yeah, name value pushes him
should there
a
be a
lot.
little cachet for being LeBron James? Yeah, maybe there should be. But I don't feel
LeBron
great about it.
James, that age, playing like that.
Okay, but do you
know?
still think he's one of the 15 best players?
I do. Well, do I think he's one of the 15
six
impactful
best
guys that we watched
forwards.
this season? Yes.
One of the 6 best forwards.
Yeah.
More
I think it's
apt.
okay. I think it's okay with all NBA to, and I'm not talking like it's some career achievement thing, but I think when you watch a full season of games and you go, do I really want to put 15 guys ahead of LeBron? I didn't want to do that.
That was good. So I do see. So what like Luka at forward would have solved is that 6th forward problem, which I was thinking like, okay, I was between Pascal and Jimmy. For Bill, it would have been replacing LeBron, obviously. You would have had Luka and Giannis, and then you would have pushed Tatum down along with Durant. And then what that would have done is it would have opened up a guard spot to get Mitchell in. So now you have like Mitchell out, and then he's reluctantly putting LeBron in. So it would have solved a lot. But of course, I don't think we should do those. At least as long as this is what the rule is, and I don't think they should change the rule necessarily. I feel like I would feel better if we went like 5 teams deep, and that way we wouldn't like really leave guys out and on the back end. I don't think it's the worst thing in the world that Embiid is going to get second team. He's the second best center. He's not the 6th best player this season, but he is the second best center in my opinion. And whatever, someone else has an opinion that Jokic is the second best center this season, that's fine. If they think Jokic is the second best center this season, Jokic should be the second team center. That doesn't mean he's the 6th best player, right? And I also don't like this whole talk of like consolation prize first team All NBA to the center who does not get the MVP award. That's even weirder for it, It's just a thing we have to live with. We have to pick one MVP. We have to pick one all defensive team player for every position. And you look back on history and it's like, okay, a lot of times Shaq was on the second team, second best center in the league. That's fine. You had other years where Joakim Noah was the first team center. It's like, that's just another cool thing to look back at actually and just talk about these things rather than having the same team each year and say, oh yeah, center was really thin this year or forward was really thin this year or whatnot. So, yeah, pretty cool. I hope I did really well on my first reaction video. I'm going to do some more, get ready for the play-in tomorrow, so I'll do some reactions on that. Cheers.